Facebook Live, here we are once again. Rythmia Life Advancement Center, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. R. Christian Minson at your service, waiting for people to arrive. If you catch this recording, know that about the first 4 minutes, we're just hanging out, shooting the breeze, welcoming people on, so you can skip to that 4-minute mark and we'll get started with the content. For those of you just joining, welcome, welcome. Put your name in the chat bar, which on my computer is right there. Don't know if that's what it shows up in yours, but tell me where you're from, tell me who you are, and buckle your seatbelts so we can talk about taking charge of your life today. One little like here, Gord Barrett joins, it tells me. David Graylord gives me a thumbs up. Welcome, welcome, come on in. Tim Tenge joined. Hi there, Tim. Hi, Greg from Minneapolis. Sudha, hey, welcome. Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Happy holidays to those not of Christmas. Hi from Asheville. Hey, Karen. Nice to have you on board. Asheville's a place on my bucket list to go. I definitely want to go there sometime. Gord, what's up? Happy holidays from Ontario. I will be going to Ontario over these holidays too. Amy Sunshine, hi. Melanie, hey Melanie, welcome and Merry Christmas to you. And here we go. We're just hanging out. It's 2 minutes in, collecting folks to watch. Yeah, thanks for the hearts there. If you're excited. If you're excited for the holidays, give some thumbs up, give some hearts. Even if you're not excited, give me some hearts. All right. Hi from the Great White North of Alberta, Canada. Hi, Becky. It is, from what I understand, quite cold there. I just tuned in to Montreal, and there they had their first snow day of the year, so schools were closed, even in a place like Canada where snow is a regular occurrence. It's got to be bad when a snowy place still has a snow day. All right, so keep on joining on, keep on liking, keep on giving me those angry faces. I love it. I always see at least a few angry faces come up. I don't know what that's about. I'm just hoping they're, what do you call them? Hoping they're mistakes. But Claire, hi from Los Angeles. Melanie's hi. Amy from Kentucky. And Shawnee and Denise. Hey there, Shawnee. And good. Love the hearts. Love the love. And we got about 30 more seconds just to collect some souls, and we'll get started proper. We are here at Rythmia in Costa Rica. If you are interested in knowing more about it, there's that number right above my head you can call. You can also go to rythmia.com and find out more that way. But we are close to the top of the 4 angry face people that are triggered. They should thank you for helping them. Yeah. I think people who do the angry faces do it by accident usually. I don't see much. I do invite anybody that has any contrary opinions to state them in the chat bar. This is a discussion more than me talking at you, though it always seems that I do most of the talking. So here we are. Welcome everyone to Rythmia Live, Facebook Live, every Friday's Breathwork edition with me, your host, R. Christian Minson, Catalyst for Transformation and Awakening. I'm a certified transformational breathwork facilitator. I'm the director of the breathwork program here at Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. I've been a monk in my life. I've been a speaker. I am a speaker and an author. This book right here has my writings in it. And so today we're really talking, the subject is take charge of your life. So we're going to look at what it means to take charge of your life, why it's so important, and I got a 7-step plan for you on how how to take more charge of your life. And then a special bonus, how you can wrap that 7-point plan up into one little package. So stay tuned for all of that. I do, like I said, anything you want to say, feel free to ask questions, to make comments, do whatever, give me the likes and hearts, but in the comment bar, that is for our interactiveness. I much prefer a Facebook Live where I'm talking directly to you all and answering your questions around the subject versus just, espousing my own views and philosophies. But that's what I'll start with, all right? So why are we talking about taking charge of your life? Really, everything I do is generally framed around a few fundamental principles. One is that, that whole saying, we're not physical beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a physical experience. So, my whole consciousness, my whole thrust in life is based around that as a spiritual being, what is life all about? And in a nutshell, I would say that evolution is our end game. As spiritual beings, we are put on this planet to evolve, to further our understanding, further our consciousness, further our expression, further. Look at anything that exists in life and see how over time, over cycles, it has evolved. It has gotten better. It has gotten more resilient. It's gotten more beautiful. It's gotten more conscious. These are the plants, the animals, humans. Everything continually evolves in life, and the bottom line to all this, as to why it's so important to take charge of our lives is, and why evolution is so important, is our happiness. I think the bottom line to anything we do is it bringing happiness. And because evolution is really the end game, it's built into the rules of this game that we can't be happy unless we're evolving. And so we're either going forward in any given moment or we're going backwards. We can't stand still. And the moment we're not going forward, we start to feel what it feels like to go backwards, as pain, as suffering, as anxiety, as stress. All of that kind of thing is an indication that we need to make effort to move forward. And again, it's ultimately for our happiness, not for any other esoteric reason. So what does it really mean to take charge of your life? Let's see. When it comes to work, everything just has been slipping away. All right, Greg, you'll have to give me a little bit more understanding of what you mean by that. So what does it mean to take charge of your life? And we already said to really evolve is this whole purpose. So we're looking to take charge in a way so that we act in a way that brings about true happiness. And by true happiness, I mean a happiness that's not a temporary happiness, a happiness that maybe expresses itself in short term, but leaves a wake or a trail of longer term misery or suffering. So a happiness that really, that has a lasting, perennial quality. And so when we deal with our desires, it's really a tricky thing, because some desires really promise happiness, but then in fulfillment, we end up seeing that it causes more pain than it promised in happiness. And other things, maybe are difficult to do up front, but like a bitter pill that you swallow, it doesn't go down so well, but provides lasting benefits. And so to take charge of your life really means starting to vet out these things that are bringing true happiness versus things that promise happiness but ultimately bring you misery. It's really about acting in a way that evolves you. And this requires, for one, balance. To take charge of your life really means to bring your life into a balance, and balance of the multiple dimensions that life operates on, which is body, mind, heart, and soul, right? We've got the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual dimensions of our being. And really all of those require attention, and being really good at one, but really sucking at one of the other ones, ultimately, for as good as we can be in any one dimension of our being, if we don't have a certain amount of baseline balance, that can throw us off, and we can feel not in charge of our lives. Stacy Lynn, I'm going through this right now. It's cool that you can on this topic today. Excellent, Stacia. So welcome. Claire says, how do you sit with this pain while it's happening without pushing it away or down? Okay, we'll talk about that when I get to the how section, our 7-point plan. Good point about moving backwards, what moving backwards looks like. I can relate to the anxiety comment. I feel so much better when I stop focusing on my fears. Bedtime is when it all creeps back in my brain. Yeah, that can be tough, but maybe one of these 7 points that I got is going to help you there, Julie. So good. Thanks for those comments. So to take charge of your life, acting in a way that evolves you, one, balance is key. Another thing that's really important is in Sanskrit, they use the word titiksha. What that means in English is basically a certain amount of endurance, an ability to withstand the extremes of life. And this is really, life, if you look at it, life is a continuous pendulum between extremes. It's really hot, and then it's really cold, or it's really wet, or it's really dry, really pleasant, really painful. All these extremes, the more that we can get, the more that we can develop an endurance for the extremes, the more imbalanced we can actually be, because it's those extremes that usually throw us out of balance. So we're basically expanding our ability to stay in a balance zone by being comfortable in those extremes. And that's what's meant by titiksha, or endurance, being able to endure whatever extreme you find yourself in. Melanie gave me a yin-yang symbol, which is probably a perfect symbol for balance. The balance of the dark and the light, and the balance of the good and the evil. That all of this is part of our existence, and yet, to try to only go for good and deny your evil throws things out of balance. And so we'd say balance, endurance. Discipline is a huge part of this whole process of taking charge of your life too, which means really the ability to do things that you want to do, or would be good for you, even when you don't want to do them, right? Isn't that really what discipline is all about? Doing things are in your best interest, even when they might be difficult or hard, or you don't necessarily want to do them in that moment. This really comes to light. Psychologists have studied this in the form of what they call the marshmallow test. You take a 5-year-old, you give them a marshmallow, and you say, you can eat this marshmallow, or if you wait 10 minutes, you'll get 2 marshmallows. And this is really, a test in discipline, a test in a lot of ways. It's a test in delayed gratification, right? Which is really what we're talking about here. Discipline is the ability to delay your gratification, meaning not take the short-term gain at the expense of the longer-term happiness. And again, we're talking about that when we're talking about happiness. So in the marshmallow test, you give that, and unfortunately, still a majority of 5-year-olds take the marshmallow and run, right? They don't wait for those 2 marshmallows. They, I guess they subscribe to a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, or a marshmallow in hand is worth 2 promised by your psychological tester. A few extra people have joined. Hey, V was just here last week. Sasha, Adriana, Ville. Hey, Ville was here forever. Through October and November. I'd love to hear how you're doing now in the greater world out there. So, okay, so back to what it means to take charge of your life. So we identified balance, which requires endurance, discipline, and courage. The discipline is really manifest in courage, which is really, to me, the ability to act in spite of fear. I rarely use the word fearlessness because I don't think that that's really an accurate description of how we operate in this world. Very few, I would even guess, none of us are fearless, meaning that we're without fear. I believe, I know, at least in my own life, I'm committed to facing my fears, and in that recognize actually how many fears that I have, that fear is a regular part of life. Fear is one of our emotional palette, one of the colors on our emotional palette. And fear has value, but courage really then is recognizing that we have our fears, but acting in spite of them. And if we really want to exhibit extreme courage, it's recognizing our fears and recognizing them as the compass needle pointing north. And what do I mean by that? It means that if you look at your fear and you figure out what it is, it's actually telling you to go towards that direction. That's the direction of your greatest evolution. And what did we just say in the beginning here? Evolving is what brings you happiness. And to move in the direction of your evolution is really taking charge of your life. So to act in spite of that fear, to have that courage to act in spite of fear, recognizing that fear is there and it's normal, but acting anyway. And of course, one of our biggest fears, that looms out there that causes us to compromise our charge of our lives is death, right? That continuous fear of that looming inevitability. And we'll talk about that a little bit. As we move now, let's see, into the 7-step plan. V says, hi, Karen. Hey, Karen says hi too. Karen was here recently. Julie, yeah, thank you. Excellent. And Melanie, yes. By the way, one of our guests, Mark Felt, gave us these bracelets, these Rythmia bracelets. Pretty cool, huh? He made took a 3D printer and made the stamp and then stamped these things out. Just an aside. So back now, we've talked about why it's important to take charge of our lives, evolution really being our end game, and that which brings us happiness in life, what it means to take charge of your lives, to act in a way that's going to bring about that happiness, to act in a balanced manner, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, or body, mind, heart, and soul, to endure, to practice enduring the extremes, and to have discipline and courage. So there's how we go about taking charge of our lives. I've got more or less a 7-step action plan for taking charge of your life. And the first one, really, let me back up and say all 7 of these, or many of these anyway, come from our spiritual principles that I really identified when I was a monk for 10 years of my life. Really, ultimately universal principles. And Julie, do you know if it is irrational fear versus intuition telling you to move in a different direction? When do you know? That's a great question, Julie. And that, let me see if I'll answer that when I get to that part here in what I'm about to say. Excellent. And Lisa, hi, Lisa. So in this 7-step plan, it starts with an assessment. I use the term introspection to really start to get into understanding the lay of the land. It's like before building a building in a region, they take a survey of the land, right? Where are the hills? Where are the water table? Where's where's the best view? All this kind of stuff is assessed. When we're assessing ourselves, we really got to understand that how we do anything is how we do everything. And you can really take look at any instance in your life and make greater assessments about the totality of your life. At Rythmia, we use the concept, show me who I become. That's one of our main intentions here of the triumvirate of attentions that we use at Rythmia when we're going through our ceremonies. Show me who I become really is a sense of introspection. It's laying it on the table. Where, what is my energetic makeup right now? What are my tendencies? What are my habits? How am I affecting people? How am I, how good am I at manifesting my dreams and desires, and what's getting in the way of that? So, another way to look at this, I used to go to a gym back in the US, and over the loudspeaker you'd hear a dozen times a day, what can be measured can be improved. And they're talking about getting, they're upselling you a bunch of, personal trainer services and such. So, but the idea is a very sound one. By measuring something, you start with a baseline. By having that baseline, you know where you are, and you can know, if you know where you want to go, you can start to chart a course. So introspection, assessing where you are in the moment is vital for taking charge of your life, even if in that assessment you realize you're not in charge of your life in that moment. That's perfectly okay, but that's the first step. Second step is really to utilize your imagination and creativity. Imagination, realize, is such an important part of our existence, and I don't think has been emphasized as much lately. And use it in terms of dream, daydream, night dream, dream about what your legacy will be. What is it? What is the full expression of your being? How do you see yourself operating in this world? What great things could you be about? Or what great things do you want to accomplish? What great people do you want to meet? What great contribution do you have for this world? And the more that you can use that imagination, the more that you really develop that end goal, right? So now you've got the assessment, where you're at. Now you've got a real clear view of where you want to go. And I encourage you in that imagination phase not to limit it to practicality, right? Not say, well, I want to be a unicorn rancher. That may not actually play out in reality, right? But who cares in the moment that you're using your imagination? Because in that, perhaps that leads you to the desire that actually animals is something that is really important to you. And then you start steering yourself towards, well, I could be a vet, or I could open a rescue shelter, or I could support the information about veganism getting out there or something. So again, dream big, use your imagination, even if it doesn't seem real. But I'll say that a hint to your greatest legacy is going to be remembering that whatever you do ideally is in service to others. Okay, so whatever it is out there is going to have the greatest impact when you see that that it's serving others in some way. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do something great and altruistic like working in a soup kitchen or something like that. But even if you're a janitor and you do it with the mindset that I'm doing this to make a cleaner environment so others can feel comfortable and clean, you know, you are essentially doing what you're doing in service to others. You can also be a janitor and say, I'm doing this just so I can get a paycheck, so I can buy alcohol and go gambling on Friday. You know, that's doing the same task, but in not a very serviceful fashion. So when we're talking about our legacy, really think in terms of service to others. Mark is saying, hey Christian, after my last ceremony in May at Rythmia, I have taking a good long look in the mirror, letting go of things that no longer serve me and facing some difficult emotions. I was on the high of the medicine and made an impulsive decision 1 month after a very strong week with the medicine to pack my things and leave my hometown. A lot of things fell apart very quickly and I ended up moving back to my hometown. Very sobering to say the least. Now working out, living with friends, figuring out how to restart my life with more integrity and sense of responsibility, not in credit card debt. Can you please speak about using these experiences to make better choices and face not avoiding responsibility? Yeah, well, I'd say you're doing exactly that. You know, we make some choices. This is what I would say. Here, you forgot step 1 in the 7-step plan, which was to make an assessment, to really introspect. You and really start to bring to reality what your plan is. You know, we're going to imagine big, but when we finally make a step, we're going to make a step in a much more practical way. So getting that assessment, really recognizing what's likely to work, why, you know, that assessment is also analyzing your motivation. Why am I leaving my hometown? Is it really to move into something better, or am I actually trying to escape something that I should be facing? And yet, if that's the motivation, you're likely, like the monkey on your back, it's going to follow you wherever you go. So what you're escaping is only going to show up in spades wherever else you show up. And that's what it sounds like it happened there. But I don't believe that any choices we make are ultimate mistakes. I think it's all part of your evolutionary learning experience. You can be proud of yourself for making a move, for being adventurous, for trying something new. Recognize that those elements of what you did were very positive and very much in alignment with taking charge of your life. What you now can assess is where they were misdirected, what it was about your motivation that wasn't quite in alignment with what you truly wanted, or what was truly best for you. And from there, then you can use all those positive traits of your ambition and your desire and your adventurousness to set a new goal. And you know, nothing like an experience like this to remind us of one of the greatest spiritual principles, humbleness, right? That sometimes we get a little too big for our britches, or we think we're all that, or we think we know what's going on, and then life shows us that, you know, we need to pay a little more respect, or we weren't so in tune as we thought we were. And again, that's a lesson. That's a positive lesson as long as you're learning it and bringing more humility into your space, acting with a little more respect. And what humility and humbleness usually does is to help us be softer towards our other people in our environment. And in that softness, a new relationship starts to be formed. So hopefully that gives you some clarity on that. So we talked about assessment, we talked about imagination. We did say that this taking charge of your life is really bringing your life into balance. So physical balance requires physical attention, physical care. Primarily that's exercise, but it ultimately means right diet, right hydration, right oxygenation, right exposure to sunshine and ability to commune with nature, and ultimately exercise, right conditioning, care for the physical form. If you think about it, we are spiritual beings in a physical form, but it's this physical form that you have to live with day in and day out. If you live in an old decrepit house, or let's say, as some places in the world are now in a colder months, if you're wearing old tattered clothes, they're not going to prevent you from catching cold. So you want to take care of those clothes. You want to repair them, renew them, and your body is just the clothing for your soul. So you really want to take care of it, because it can be quite distracting to your higher ambitions if it's not, if your physicality is not in full alignment. So exercise and care for your physical form is part of this plan for taking charge of your life, one way or another. And I'm not here to espouse any particular exercise plan over another, though I find that yoga is something that's pretty universally helpful. If you want something that that gives you a big bang for the buck, try using a mini trampoline or a rebounder on a regular basis. That seems to double the efficacy of your efforts. So exercise. The next thing, to bring your mental part into balance is study or continuous learning. To be continuously in education mode. I'd say to stimulate your curiosity, to stay curious may be the better way to put this. And then the effects of staying curious are to study or to learn or enroll in classes or to get a mentor or to pick up something and just try to figure it out on your own. But the idea to keep on learning, keep on knowing more than you know about any particular subjects that you're interested in. So Mark, well said, that helps for sure. Excellent, Mark, thanks. And great, great to you for sharing that. And like I said, I would consider that a victory in the sense that you tried something, it didn't work. Now it's giving you information on how to try something new that will work, right? And V is saying self-care is so important, and hinting and listening to your body temple, especially after ceremony, and having a daily practice of meditation or breath work or yoga, I've found. Well, you just stole my thunder right out for the next thing that I'm about to say, which is in the 7-point plan when we're talking about emotional balance. So physical balance is exercise, mental balance is stimulate your curiosity and keep learning. Emotional balance, I find one of the best ways is breath work. Breath work is really one of those most powerful experiences that, or processes that bring your emotions into balance. They really help it helps you tune into your feelings. For me, that's pretty much why I got into breath work. It helped me, one, discover that I actually had feelings, and if that sounds funny to some of you, maybe it is, but you know, as a man, a monk, raised in a military family, not very emotionally expressive in my life, learning that the energies that I was feeling were like truly emotional expressions was a big deal. The next big deal was really after feeling all that energy and identifying it, to feel comfortable enough to express it. And the breath work really gives a forum, a safe container for the expression of your feelings. And often the breath work just elicits that expression. You know, it breaks down the barriers of resistance that, you know, you're holding back because you're told you shouldn't express, or you've been told you're bad, or people called you names because, or, you know, weak or sissy because of it. You've expressed your feelings. All that, the breath work helps break through those barriers and let that expression happen. But what it ultimately does is then, you know, it helps move that energy so it brings it back into balance. So you've got this healthy flow of emotional energy. And that's, that I think is why breathwork is so profound, because it really focuses on the flow of life. You know, life continually flows from an inhale to an exhale, inhale to exhale, which is just, as I said, you know, the way we do anything is we do everything. The way that we breathe is indicative of how we flow in our lives. And so it's really, really good to start getting a handle on that. And breath work is one of those ways. And of course, breath work has been the main tool that I've used for the last 12 years of my career in personal development and coaching, and helping people to take charge in their lives. And, you know, that emotional component is huge. Now, breathwork also has a great spiritual component, a big spiritual dimension to the whole thing. And that, what it really does is helps us get in touch with our intuitive nature. And as we're breathing and we're working up the life force energy that the breath and the oxygen within the breath has, it starts to activate our innate intelligence, and we start to understand things better. So breath work really can help pretty much in all of the steps of our, you know, in the 7-step plan. The assessment, if we use breath work when we're in the introspection phase, it can help us really see clearly where we are, rather than if we're trying to mentally skirt around the issue and not admit some of the things that we really need to admit. Breathwork can be great in that imagination phase, because it really it stimulates your creativity. So you're thinking out of the box, you're thinking out of your normal limited ways of thinking, and that can totally spark a whole new direction. Breathwork, you know, harnessing our breath in our exercise routines, our physical health routine, is vital for more stamina, more strength, more endurance, all that kind of stuff. So you know how I feel about breath work. And Michelle's saying, great conversation. Julie, I don't know why, but I really struggle with breath work. I don't enjoy it. That's okay, Julie. And I would say just keep on with it. That, you know, to me, I bet, you know, I'm going to make a general assessment. Again, how we do anything is how we do everything. When we're looking at the breath, and if we don't enjoy that process of breathing, there's a struggle there. You know, it's indicative of a struggle that points to the picture of a larger perspective of struggle in life. I wouldn't be surprised if life, your day-to-day life, is a struggle for you. And you know, if you look deeper at that, you might see some of the things that you start doing that make life more difficult than it needs to be, that you put more effort into it than perhaps, you know, gets the results. You could get the same results on a third of the effort, maybe, or you're trying to do so many things that you find yourself, or you got to get it right. You know, That's one of the biggest things I see with breath work. People are always like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? I've got to get everything right. Breathe. As long as you're getting oxygen into you, on some level, you're doing it right. Now, there's always ways to tweak the technique and all that, but funny enough, part of the technique is to relax about the technique, if that makes any sense to you. That it is really about letting go and letting the breath ultimately take over. And the breath breathes you in the proper technique. When the breath is actually taking over, you're doing it right. And so, new comment here. So hopefully, well, just with Julie then, that you keep on going with it. Keep, introspect about that a little bit and continue to practice. And maybe I'd say practice in smaller chunks, like a 5-minute session or 10-minute session, and let yourself acclimate. A lot of this is like exercise too. When you're out of shape, exercise sucks, right? It hurts. You're sore for days afterwards. You're not very strong, so you want to give up and all that. But as you get in better and better shape, you start liking exercise. It starts making you feel pumped. It starts making you feel alive. It starts making you feel like you're actuating your potential, at least on a physical level. So I'd say that same way with breath work. As you continue, I think it's going to help you start to you're learning to breathe better. And as you learn to breathe better, you're going to get better at breathing. And then when you get better at breathing, you're going to like it more. So keep in touch with me about that. I'd like to hear how that goes. Karen saying, I'm going to be in Florida for about 6 weeks in January, February. Would love to know if breathwork classes out here. Yeah, there are. So I'd say Facebook message me later, and we'll talk more about that. And Julie's saying, thanks, spot on, excellent. I appreciate that feedback. Jenny, hey, Jenny joined. Welcome. So we talked about breath work. The last, second last, the sixth thing is to meditate daily. This is really harnessing the spiritual dimension. Now, a lot of times I put breath work and meditation together in sort of the same category, and because I think they have a lot of similar benefits. But there's a reason why I mentioned meditation specifically in the context of 7 steps to help you take charge of your life. And that's because meditation, more than breath work even, helps you. What I strive for when I meditate is to completely disconnect from my life, from my physical life, and try to fully get into connection. Or they might say, the vertical dimension of your being, this relationship, versus the horizontal dimension, this relationship. I'm really, in a sense, striving to die to your external world and become fully immersed in your inner reality. And this, I would say, to meditate with this approach, that you're really truly practicing letting go of everything. In other words, what you're really practicing is mastery over death. We mentioned earlier that death was one of our biggest fears that compromises our courage, or that we need to be courageous about. And we can really make a lot of headway by practicing meditation in this way. By letting go, by saying, if I died in this moment, I release it all loose ends, all relationships, all desires and hopes. I can just let go of it now and just be fully in service to spirit, service to my soul, service to whatever higher calling that is. And I can't say enough, it's about how continued practice of that gives you a certain amount of freedom from the compulsions of your life's experiences. As we start getting into life, we feel compelled. You got to make that extra dollar. You got to, you know, make your wife that much more happier. You got to provide more this way. You've got to reach for this next possession. You got to, you know, and it takes on a life of its own and burns your nerves out. It burns the motor of your soul out. And so by letting go, it's an extremely regenerative practice. You tune in with the source of your energy, which is spirit, and it revitalizes you. It gives you a sense of detachment from all these things. When you come back out of your meditation, you can re-engage. You can still have those desires. You can still have those ambitions, but you have them with a little, like I said, a sense of detachment, meaning that you're not all consumed by them, and your happiness isn't dependent on whether you achieve them or not. Your happiness is more dependent on whether you pursue them or not. Okay? Gord is saying, is this the thought process that you try to achieve during meditation? More or less, yes, for me. That's it. It's just to really let go of everything external. You die to the world. As you know, I'm not a biblical scholar, nor do I, you know, I'm trying to convince anybody of any religion, but there's a passage, St. Paul says, "Verily I die daily." And the explanation of that passage that I've heard is that he practiced techniques, some kind of technique of meditation or other, you know, spiritual advancement that was given to him, obviously by Christ or Jesus. And in that, he died daily, meaning in practicing these processes daily, was able to let go of body consciousness, was let go of the attachment to the world, and be fully consumed with spirit. And of course, dying daily in that manner means coming back and being able to live again daily. And I posit that by dying daily, you can live even more fully. Another way to look at this would be Stephen Covey's principle, you know, 7 habits of highly successful people. The 7th is sharpening the saw, taking some regenerative time. You know, we might consider that vacation or just you know, stopping doing an activity for a while so that you can rebuild. Sleep, you know, in your daily practice. Again, how you do anything is how you do everything. The whole process of sleep is a metaphor for that life relaxing into life, which means death ultimately. But just like we wake up the next day and sleep, I would assess that it's likely that we wake up again from death into new life. So meditation, Upton and Gord is also saying, get yourself to a state of mind where 3D doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, much like when the plant medicine takes you away from your physical body. Exactly. So further on, during meditation, while focused on my breathing, especially sometimes, I can see the geometry. I can see when the medicine takes you. Does this mean it's working? Yes, it means it's working. It doesn't necessarily mean it's significantly evolving you in that moment, but it does mean that you're starting to move in the right direction. So whenever I start to feel some effects of something working, I try to surrender to it more. I try to like allow myself to follow the path that it's leading me on versus trying to take control and direct it to what I want. That's where I feel like I would find the most advantage to the experience. Okay, so of course, this whole practice is really to attain spiritual liberation, and that may be, you know, as I mentioned, that the end game as spiritual beings is to evolve. The ultimate state of evolution would be our own spiritual liberation, if that's even possible, meaning if we ever get to a point where we're finally finished, which is difficult for me to comprehend. I think, things, eternity is eternity, which is forever. So a couple of comments: finding it hard to surrender, especially when you're taken from VD. It's a boundary shattering. Yeah, trust is the key. And once again, breath work. Breath work is the practice to develop trust. When you're going somewhere where, all you're saying when you say, I find it hard to surrender when you're taken from the 3D, is that your ego is resistant to an experience of newness. It's the ego wants to stay safe in the boundaries of the known. And as you start to expand your boundaries, your ego's saying, hey, whoa, and I'm not going to surrender this, stop it. So we need to employ things that are going to help you circumvent the ego, or allow your ego to calm down so that you can continue to move forward. So breath work is positive in that. So here we go. Those are the 7 steps: introspection, imagination, exercise and physical care, stimulating your curiosity with study and learning, breath work for emotional balance and emotional expression, to meditate. And there was one last one I got: communicate. So here, a lot of this stuff has been about yourself, but our expression out in the world is with others, is in relationship, right? Where none of us are an island unto ourselves, but we are floating icebergs that knock up into other icebergs, which are our companions and other people out there. So communication, learning to communicate your feelings, and which means to feel, to assess, to get, you can use that breath work to feel, and then to say how you feel, and to practice really being honest about how you feel, which starts to bring more truth into the environment. And where there's truth, there's ultimately harmony. I know in my own experience, it's been very difficult to communicate feelings, because you feel like your feelings are going to create waves, and they may temporarily create waves. You jump into a pool that temporarily creates waves, but then those waves settle, and you're still in the pool. So the same way with your feelings, if you're really if you're wanting to dwell in the pool of truth, essentially, you might have to create some waves by giving your true feelings. But those waves, just like we were talking about the adventure that went south a little while ago, that didn't turn out to be great. If you offer your truth, you offer your true feelings, and those waves create bigger waves, that's an indication that maybe your feelings or your environment is out of harmony with your feelings, and that's going to give you information for changing your environment. Or if on the flip side, if your feelings create waves and then they settle, you'll see that in essence that's going to strengthen the bond, strengthen the relationships that you end up being in, because now they're founded in a deeper layer of truth. So this is ultimately, communication. If you're bad at it, is, I'd say, try practicing loving others. That's the best form of communication that you could. That's a fundamental form of communication that can get you started on learning how to communicate your feelings better. Is just practice loving others. which is really the name of the game anyway. Whoa, lots of comments here. Oh, Celeste has joined on right when I'm talking about communication, right? I'd love for you to do a whole Facebook Live simply on how to meditate and fundamentals. It can be very overwhelming. Oh, great. All right, that's a good for me to think about. Thanks, V. Gord, please. Yes, please. Oh, some of V was, about the meditation thing. Good. Shani, communication is the hardest one for me too. Oh, well, join the group. Ride the wave. Excellent, Celeste. And Shani, toning in breathwork has been helpful, at least to put sound to it, even if you don't have words for it now. Yeah, so that's a great point about communication. Breathwork can help us in communicating, learning to express ourselves more, especially using toning in breathwork, which is an auxiliary technique we use to making sound, allowing that sound to channel your feelings, to channel your energies, and help remove blockages to your expression. Okay, so we have this 7-step plan, but there's one way that you can wrap all 7 of these up in one neat little package, and so you don't have to keep thinking about all 7 of them. You want to know what that is? The way that you can accomplish all 7 of these parts of this plan to take greater charge of your life is to go to Rythmia. Rythmia here is a place where the program really, as I was putting this together, I was putting it together independently. These are like the steps I feel really are necessary to take charge of your life. But when I really looked at it, I said, this is the program that we're offering here. You go in, you've got breath work, you've got plant medicine that, gives you, a hard, cold look at your life. Show me who I become sometimes is a stark reality that is brought to your awareness. And sometimes we need a forceful kick in the butt to get us to look at that. But this program provides that. Working with the plant medicine, working with the breath work stimulates that imagination. And so a lot of people leave here with a real fundamental awareness of where they're going, what their purpose is now, what they're wanting to accomplish in life, and making that happen. Of course, we do breath work here, so part of this whole program is to bring ourselves into emotional balance, to bring ourselves into mental balance. Many people have the experience of what we call a spiritual death and rebirth here. Nobody has ever physically died in this process, but many people have spiritually died, meaning they've allowed themselves to, or sometimes they do it struggling, and I can only say the more you struggle, the more painful the experience is. But by dying to your old self, it's one of the greatest experiences you can have here ultimately, because you're essentially giving yourself a new lease on life, releasing it all, letting go of it all, just like I said about in meditation, where you let go of your attachment to your family, to your job, to your ambitions, to who you think you are. All that stuff goes. And then you realize you're not dead after all. You're actually just reborn into a new way of being, and usually a lot more in harmony with your true nature. So Julie can't wait to come. Yeah, good. Stasia, I will make it too. I'm not sure when. Gord might go to. All right. Well, that's the end goal, is to get here, basically. So that's really the grand finale wrap up. This is something you can practice on your own at home, and when you are ready, the program here is really a power punch. In 1 week's time, you can get a month, a year, a lifetime's worth of work done. And I'm praising it because I believe in it, and I'm especially praising it because breathwork takes such an important role here. I don't know any other program that really makes breathwork a fundamental aspect of the program, unless it's a breathwork only focused program. So with that, let's see what Karen's saying. Thank you. I appreciate your time. You always make me smile when I listen to your vlogs. Excellent. I learned a new perspective with each talk. Glad I got to join in real time today. Have a great time. Thanks, Karen. Really loved having you here recently too, and come back again soon. And Melanie, can you access who you become with breathwork versus plant medicine? Yes, you can do that with breathwork as well. In fact, that may lead into one of the last things I'll say, which is that Rythmia is a life advancement program, and it's the environment, it's the wisdom, it's the connection, and ultimately it's the ceremonies. The ceremonies on any regular week are 3 breath ceremonies and 4 plant medicine ceremonies. But we do have special weeks where all of those ceremonies are breath ceremonies. Those weeks have been equally as powerful. In fact, if we're assessing the miracle rate on the couple of breathwork weeks we've had so far, we've had 100% miracle rate, whereas even with the plant medicine, we're at about a 93% miracle rate. So to answer your question, yes, the accessing who you become is part of that whole process that can be done, whether the medicine is plant medicine or whether the medicine is what I call our original medicine, or breath, or that life force energy within the breath. And with that, Gord was saying Melanie's question was awesome, and hopefully you both agree that my answer was awesome. And if not, we can go into it more, but we are at the top of the hour where I would like to end. Just to say, if you want to follow me and ask more questions on a personal level, friend me on Facebook, r.christian.minson, but do it with a message. Send me a message that says you saw me on Facebook Live, or I won't get around to responding to that request. And even if you friended me and you friended me because you were here at Rythmia, just write a message to me and says, hey, I was at Rythmia recently and want to friend you. All right? So with that, a few more comments. Thank you. Do you have a source for breathwork and toning? How much preparation practice would you suggest before your visit? Claire, go ahead and friend me, and we'll talk about that more. But I suggest as much preparation and practice as you can do, and that's what we'll talk about, trying to get you hooked up with somebody who can help you that way. Very awesome. Great answer. Thanks, Kevin. Great to see you on there. Celeste, thanks for and Shani, good to see you too. Love seeing all my friends and new folks on there too. Return Rythmiites. To all of you, namaste. We won't be on next week. Next week is right in the Christmas to New Year's break there. So we got a week off here at Rythmia. I am going to take that week off and enjoy it thoroughly. And when we get back, we'll start up again. So I think all of our Facebook Lives will be off this week. Mine, Jerry's, Meg's, them. So whatever happens, it happens at the end of this week. Next week we'll be off, and we'll start up again in the new year. So to all of you out there, happy holidays. To you, Melanie, and everyone, and Gord, see you next week. Right on. Namaste. Get out there and take charge of your life.